So as a follow-up to Gladiator, the 2000 film, one of my favorite films of all time, worth all this hype? Yes and no. Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk to you about Gladiator II, the follow-up, the sequel to the 2000 classic, the Russell Crowe classic, one of the best movies of all time, one of my favorite movies of all time, Gladiator. It's coming out 24 years later with a new storyline, some new blood, well, a lot of blood, and a new set of fights and betrayals. Is this movie worth your time? Is it worth watching? Well, my hot take is I think you should watch it. I liked it. I thought it was very enjoyable. It has really good action. It's entertaining. It's got a great cast, plenty of bloodshed, and ties to the first film. Lots of ties, as you imagine. They really try to give you that nostalgia that you're hoping for, but it doesn't really have the same lasting impact. The story isn't as impactful, and there's a few weird choices that I didn't love. But overall, look, I liked it a lot. It is an entertaining movie. It does the impossible. It follows up on, one of my favorite films of all time, and does it in a good, entertaining way. So I definitely think you should check it out. It is a movie to see in theaters. It's coming to theaters on November 22nd, 2024. So see it then. And all that being said, I'm going to tell you a little about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there'll be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this movie, and you might not, there are some big surprises along the way. I would turn it off when they get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So Gladiator 2 takes place 16 years after the death of Maximus, everyone's favorite gladiator, and Rome is not doing that great, but does the arrival of a new mysterious gladiator foretell some good fortunes for Rome or some bad fortunes for him? Well, you have to watch the movie to find out. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I love the action. Really good action. It's a gladiator movie. You expect action, and there's a lot of different types. There's like large warfare. There are individual, one-on-one fights in the arena. There's some, non-arena fights as well. There was a nice variety of warfare here, and if you're an action fan, this is definitely going to be for you. Second thing I love the setting. It's a fantastic setting. It is set in classic Rome. It looks fantastic, and I love they did a really good job of making it. If you watch the credits, there are so many people involved in set design. There were like 30 plasterers, just to make the place look right. And I also love the fact that they did so much excess. It definitely shows the hubris of, the Roman Empire. Everything is extravagant. There's one scene where there's a feast and they have a rhino head as one of the items. There's gold, there's excess, there's so much going on, and I loved it. Third thing I love the cast. Really, really good cast. You got Pedro Pascal, you got Paul Mescal, but the main one, the person that I love the most was Denzel Washington. He did such a good job. His character is so much fun, so kind of unpredictable. He kind of stole the show. The fourth thing I like the music. It's a Gladiator follow-up, so you expect good music, and this has it. It does have some callbacks to the original movie, some of those songs as well, but the music here is also independently good. It's loud. It's kind of gets your blood flowing just like it should. It is a worthy kind of soundtrack for this film. And the last thing I love the callbacks. Look, I mean, the Gladiator is a classic. I love that movie. There's plenty of references to Gladiator. There's some scenes, there's artifacts, there's lines. Sometimes it feels like maybe it leans a little bit too much on Gladiator, but overall, I enjoyed them. So, all that being said, things I didn't love as much. The first, surprising, very surprising, CG. They used CG, which is not a surprise, I guess, but it didn't look good. There's some arena fights that are very CG. They look obvious. There's one specifically where they fight a bunch of animals that just looks really bad. So, the thing about Gladiator is I think it was a pre-CG movie, or even if it was, I don't think they used a lot of it. And so that looked good. This one, the movie's not going to hold up as well, I think, because you can definitely tell some of the fights are noticeable and it just doesn't have the same kind of awe-inspiring feel as the first one. The second thing I didn't love as much, it feels familiar. I mentioned the callbacks. I liked the callbacks, but so it almost feels like the most memorable things about this movie sometimes are the nostalgia pieces, the lines. I couldn't think of a line in this movie that is going to have the same impact of what we do in life echoes in eternity, or I am Maximus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. I could not pull a line from this other than a funny thing that Denzel said at one point. It's not going to have the same lasting impact, I think. And I guess that's kind of the third thing. It doesn't feel like this movie has the same emotional and lasting impact as the first one. That's a tough call, right? I love the first one. The first one was, a masterpiece. This one is very good, but I just don't think it'll have the same kind of nostalgia feel as the first movie. And the last thing I didn't love the ending. It felt okay. Like it felt okay. It felt like it was over a little bit too quickly, and it felt a little bit too convenient. But I'm not going to go into that here. I'll go into that in the discussion later. But overall, look, a lot of things I loved, some things I didn't love as much, but I did enjoy this movie. I'm happy it got made. I'm happy they followed up Gladiator, and I'm glad that they're kind of continuing the story. And we'll see if there's a Gladiator 3. But for now, check out Gladiator 2 on November 22nd, 2024. And if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And I'm going to really quickly go into a recap right now. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So Gladiator 2 takes place 16 years after Maximus, after the death of Maximus. There are two emperors in this movie. They're brothers, Emperor Geta and Emperor Kalakala. They are, not the best rulers. They're young, they're, rash, they're hot-headed, but they're ruling Rome, and Rome is expanding. They're trying to expand their empire, expand their glory, and they are taking the last African free city. Now, the city is defended by several troops, including Hanno, who is this, strange, capable warrior that seems to have a lot more going on. His wife is an archer. They are both defending the city. And the assault by Rome is led by Marcus Acacius, played by Pedro Pascal, who is a very good general. He, is seasoned. He is war-torn. It's a naval assault, so you get that side of it, a new kind of aspect of the gladiator warfare. They assault the city. It's a good fight. Now during the fight, Rome wins, and Hanno's wife is killed on Acacius's orders. Now, I mean, he didn't specifically target her for any reason. She killed someone close to him, and he's like, take her out because he didn't want to get killed. But that does not go well with Hanno. Hanno is captured and sent back to Rome. Now, they take the city, they take several slaves back to Rome, and Acacius goes back with them. And when he gets back, he's celebrated by the emperors. Although he seems kind of wary of this whole campaign. It doesn't seem like he enjoys warfare. He's very good at it, and he's doing his duty, but it seems like he doesn't want to keep fighting. He doesn't want to keep expanding the Roman Empire. He thinks maybe it's getting a little bit too big. He tells the emperors that he just wants to rest and spend time with his wife. Someone that we might remember, this person named Lucilla. She is Acacius's wife. He just wants to spend time with her, but the young emperors are basically saying no, he needs to keep conquering. He needs to expand the glory of Rome, and they want him to take Persia and India next. He does not seem very excited about this. Now, meanwhile, Hanno was, taken back to Rome, and he is sent into the arena to be put up for auction. Now, he fights a host of baboons, I think. They don't look good. It looks really bad. They're clearly CG, which, I guess having actual baboons probably would be a difficult thing to do, but it doesn't look like a good fight. But Hanno impresses enough that he gets bought by Maximus, who is played by Denzel Washington. He is a, rich kind of seems like merchant, pseudo politician. He has a bunch of gladiators, and it seems like he has a good amount of influence in Rome. So he buys Hanno and adds him to his repertoire of gladiators. Now he sees something in Hanno. He sees a certain amount of rage, as you imagine. He's very pissed that his wife was killed, so he wants to fight here and eventually get revenge on Acacius. So Hanno does well in some local fights, and he leads his men to victory. Very similar to another movie we might have seen where a gladiator, a former general, leads a ragtag group of gladiators in battle. It felt very similar. Hanno naturally is the leader. He naturally has his troops follow him, just like Maximus did earlier. So he fights in several fights, and during one of them, Acacius and his wife Lucilla are there, and it's a fight where a bunch of gladiators are taking on this champion on a rhino. So during the rhino fight, Acacius and his wife Lucilla are there, and Lucilla, you might remember from the first movie, she was the sister of Commodus, the emperor in the first movie, and a former lover of Maximus. So she has some history here. They got the same actor, so that was really fun to see. During this fight against a rhino riding champion, Hanno does a move that looks familiar. He grabs some of the dirt from the ground and rubs it on his hand, which is something that Maximus did when he was fighting. And this convinces Lucilla that this is her long-lost son, Lucius. Lucius was in the first movie, and we didn't see this, but in this movie, he was sent away after Maximus died to make sure that he was safe. And he went to various places, eventually ended up in Africa, and now is captured and brought back to Rome. So Lucilla is convinced that this is Lucius, her long-lost son, and a prince of Rome, an heir to the throne, I believe. So After this fight, Hano wins. He does a really good job fighting this Rhino and then being the champion. Lucilla goes to see Hano and tells him that he's her long lost son, and he rejects this. But during this rejection, he kind of shows that he knows a little bit more of what's going on. He kind of like is trying to play it cool, but it feels like he does know that this is his mother and she sent him away a long time ago. So it seems like he's a little bit bitter for being abandoned, and so that was an interesting exchange. Now, meanwhile, remember, Acacius is not very happy with the way that Rome is going. He's not happy with conquering everything. He wants to like end it. So he is planning a rebellion to overthrow the emperors and give Rome back to the people. Basically, what Commodus's father, Marcus Aurelius, I think is his last name, wanted to do. He wanted to name Maximus as, I believe, the emperor and have him give Rome back to the Senate. So Acacius, I think, is trying to do this as well. So he is planning to overthrow the empire. He has his army who are loyal to him, ready to come when he calls. Now, his wife is also involved. She is influential in the Senate, so she's trying to get the Senate to help. So Acacius launches his plot. He goes to free Lucius. I think he wants Lucius there because he at least is a part of the bloodline. So I think he wants to make sure he's safe, but also he could be a powerful figure in this overthrow. But before this, Acacius and Lucilla are very sloppy and they talk about their plans while a freaking narc is there, while one of their servants is there listening. They didn't even like check the room before they talked treason. Not a good job. They should have been in a little bit quieter place, spoke with a little quieter voices. They did not. And one of their servants overheard. She tells, I think, Senator Thrakes, kind of this bumbling senator that we have throughout here. And this information eventually gets to Maximus, the Denzel Washington character, who tells the emperors to get some favor. Now, when the plot is launched, when Acacius goes with kind of a small army to go free Lucius, there are guards there waiting. They kill everyone but Acacius and take both him and Lucilla hostage. Now, the emperors are pissed, as you imagine. They're kids, and they're not too happy about trying to be overthrown. So they want to kill them both, but Macrinus convinces them to let the gods decide, i.e. make them fight in the arena. This will make it seem, more just. It will help the crowd not turn on them. So Acacius is first. He is sent to the arena to fight Hano, the kind of like new hero of the arena, also known as Lucius, although no one else knows him as Lucius. Now, Lucius is still angry over his wife's death. He thinks that Acacius is the reason. I mean, he kind of was the reason, but it was a battle, so what are you going to do? And during this fight, Acacius does fight back, but he doesn't hurt him. He like makes sure not to like actually hurt Lucius. Now, eventually, Acacius gets a moment and he tells Lucius like who he is and that he knew his father. And Lucius, during this fight, I think sees Acacius as a good man. And Acacius then surrenders. He doesn't try to kill Lucius. He then surrenders. The emperor says, no mercy, right? Like he leaves it up to the crowd and then he says, no mercy. But Lucius doesn't do this. Lucius doesn't kill him. He kneels down next to Acacius. The emperor then orders his archers to kill Acacius. They shoot him with a bunch of arrows and Acacius is dead. Very good shots though, because Lucius is right next to him and they only hit Acacius. So very good soldiers, I guess, but not good for Acacius. Acacius is now dead. Now, the killing of a hero, like even one that maybe betrayed the emperor, but he is still a hero. He's done great things for Rome. It angers the crowd. You start like booing and start getting a little bit rowdy. So everyone leaves. All the like royal people leave. The emperors, Lucilla, who's kind of like a royal prisoner, and Macrinus. Now, back at the palace, the emperors fight because they see that the tides are turning, the crowd, the people are turning against them, and they're trying to figure out what to do. Now, eventually, Caracalla, who is the younger of the two brothers and seems to have some disease that affects his mind, he is convinced by Macrinus to kill his brother Geta. And so he comes up to Geta, he like stabs him, Macrinus helps him in this plot, and so he then becomes, the one empire, the sole emperor. And you can tell maybe his reasoning's a little bit off because he appoints his monkey, his like pet monkey, as the head of security and regent of Rome. But then he also appoints Macrinus as a second. So Macrinus is all intents and purposes like a prime minister, essentially. So Macrinus is basically in control. So now they prepare to kill Lucilla. They do another arena fight. And the night before, Lucilla goes to see Lucius and she talks to him and gives him a ring. One of the rings that her father had, Marcus Aurelius, and gave to Acacius when they were married. So it's an ornate ring. It kind of is royal. They'll know who it is. She gives that to Lucius so that he can have a piece of, like, his family. Now, later that night, Lucius goes and talks to Ravi, who is a healer that he became friends with. Ravi has kind of like healed him throughout the fights and also seems to be a very good man. So Lucius trusts him and he tells him to take this ring to where Cassius's forces are gathered and tell them what happened and that Lucius Aurelius is calling them. Lucius Aurelius, the Prince of Rome, is calling, the loyal soldiers to come and fulfill their destiny. So Ravi takes the ring, and before he leaves, he gives Lucius the jail keys because Ravi, I guess, is a healer, but he also has jail keys. So he seems to be trusted, although apparently he's easy to betray. So the next day, while the guards are getting the gladiators all ready, the gladiators are already free. They've already unlocked all their gates, and they go off and fight off the guards, and they prepare to fight for their freedom. Now, Lucius goes down below and grabs Maximus's old armor, his father's armor. He puts it all on. Nice callback. Good to see that armor back. And so he gets ready for this battle. Now, Lucilla's setup is that she is on a boat with her servants and some disloyal senators, and they all have wooden swords, and they have to fight off the Praetorian guards, the elite guards of Rome. And so, but the emperor is not, does have some mercy. He gives her a champion, Lucius. Lucius is her champion. It's him against about 40 different Praetorian guards. Not good odds, but Lucius has friends. He gets out to defend her, and then all the other gladiators come out too. They fight the Praetorian guards. It's chaos, but during the chaos, Caracalla starts like spouting madness. I think he wants to like kill the crowd or blow people up. He's like he likes the bloodshed and he wants to do more. So Macrinus makes his move and he kills Caracalla, and then he takes a bow from one of the archers and shoots Lucilla right as Lucius is about to save her. After this, Macrinus, presumably is the new kind of ruler of Rome because he was the regent and the emperors are dead. So he now has the power, but he is also scared of Lucius, so he flees. Lucius, sees his mother die and then gets on a horse and goes after him. They go to the gates of Rome where Lucius's / Cassius's soldiers are gathered, but the Roman soldiers to defend Rome are there too. I think it's 5,000 Lucius soldiers versus 6,000 Roman soldiers. Not great odds for either of them. Seems like it would be a very bloody battle, but before they engage, Macrinus and Lucius fight, and it's a pretty good fight. Macrinus holds his own. He's older than Lucius, much older, but it's Denzel, so of course he's going to do well. And Macrinus also was a gladiator early in life, and he fought his way to freedom. So he can hold his own, and he can hold his own against Lucius. So they have a good fight. It doesn't go as long as I wanted. It's a decent fight, but I wanted it to go a little bit longer. Kind of like the Joaquin Phoenix, Russell Crowe fight. That one was long, it was drawn out. I wish this was more like that. But eventually, Lucius does best him. He jumps in the water, grabs a rock, hits him over the head, and then eventually like kills him. And also, the nice thing is that Macrinus tries to stab him a few times, but Lucius's armor, aka Maximus's armor, does prevent him from dying. Does prevent the knife from penetrating. So it seems like his father's watching out for him. Now, after Lucius kills Macrinus, he gives a speech to the soldiers. Both sides, they decide not to fight. I thought it was interesting that they just kind of accept that this is Lucius. They accept that this is a royal bloodline, no ID check or anything. But I guess he is wearing Maximus's armor, so that does give him some cred. So I guess at this point, Lucius is the emperor. He is in the bloodline. He's probably the oldest heir, the oldest son at this point, because the other ones are dead. So it seems like maybe he's the empire. It seems like maybe he's the emperor. I feel like he will probably give control to the Senate because that's what his grandfather wanted. That's also what his father wanted. I assume that that's what he wants as well. He doesn't seem like a statesman. He kind of tells him before the speech that he's a soldier. So I feel like he's going to give control to the Senate. But we will see after this speech, after he kind of like stops the bloodshed, he goes to the arena, grabs some dirt and gets on his knees and looks up and says, "Father, help me," or something like that. And this scene was supposed to be impactful. It wasn't as impactful. It has like some weird CG sky effects that make them go really quickly. But it was a nice callback, I guess. It was a nice kind of like callback to Maximus, callback to the arena. I think he does this where Maximus died. There's kind of a little like reference there. So that's it. I guess Rome is safe until maybe Gladiator 3, but that is Gladiator 2. Like I said, I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought the action was fun. I love the cast. I love some of the plot twists and things like that. So I definitely think you should check it out when it comes to theaters on November 22nd, 2024. Oh, and there is no stinger. There's no stinger. And the credits are insanely long. So I would not stay for the credits. They are very long. Like I said, 30 plasters, tons of effects people, tons of set people. So I would leave when the credits start rolling, but it comes to theaters on November 22nd, 2024. If you check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you. There are two emperors in this movie. Let me see who they are. Hold on.